Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So yesterday afternoon, which was Sunday, Dad and I started picking some corn. So it was, October 27th. We got started, and we started here at the shop, and we got one side almost completely done. So there's about 58 acres here, so we got half of it done. We got like 8 more rows, maybe, I don't know, 400 foot long, that we run out of room for shell corn yesterday. So elevator was only open till 4 o'clock, so that kind of put an end to it for the day. So we're gonna bring the peat up to the shop. We got to change the bungee cord on the front of the tarp on the trailer. That bungee cord helps that tarp roll over as you bring it over the tarp bows. So we'll get that up to the shop. We'll get that swapped out, get it changed. It's just pretty simple. You just put it in there, and you just tie the ends. And there's a piece of conduit actually inside the pipe of the tarp. You pull that conduit out, you thread that bungee cord through there, and that's what actually helps put some preload on that bungee cord. Takes up some of the length of the cord, makes it stretch, so that way by the time it's rolled over the trailer, it's stretched good and tight to bring it back across. So we'll get up there and get that changed out. So we gotta get this screw out so we can get this white plug out of here. But that screw's turning out to be kind of a booger, and it's just threaded into plastic. So Dad went to get me a pair of vice grips. I'm gonna try to clamp on it and turn it out. Well, we got that screw out. That should come out of there now. George, you got your pry bar? See if that'll pop out of there. It's trying to. Must be rusted in there. There you go. Oh no. Trying to. There it is. There we go. Now we just untie that. Well, actually pull it out because it's cut anyways at the end. So we'll just tie a new knot with a new washer on our other one. Put it back in. Well, Dad's gonna push the new one through. If you notice, we all have the same jackets on this morning. Our Carhartt dirt grain steel jackets that we got from Triple Crown Products. They sent us some to try out, and we really like them. So if you're looking for workwear with your logo on it, go to triplecrownproducts.com and they will set you up. They have all kinds of workwear, and they'll put whatever you want on it. Got that pushed through yet? Oh, it's about there. Ooh. All right, now we can stick that back in there. I'll guide you, George. Uh-oh. Must be getting caught on the screws. Oh, yeah. What is the deal here? It came out real nice.
You working one hand? Oh, that's right.
Oh, we'll have to pull it back out. Well, now we got it back in. Line that up, like so. Put our screw back in. I can't really do it one-handed that well. I suppose I can. I don't know where all my tripods went. Oh yeah, I forgot when I was doing the skeleton bucket video, I left that one out there. But I got 2 more. I don't know where they're at. I'll have to go gather them up. All right, now all we gotta do is tie that up here to that eye, and then that's all there is to it. And that's all there is to it. Just tie a knot in it. Now that'll help that tarp get across the trailer. Well, when it's rolled up on that side, it'll help it come back to this side. All right, we'll get it rolled up and go get the other truck ready. Oh yeah, it's gonna work the way it should. Stretch that right across. All right, you can bring it back. And here it comes. Rolls up, gets caught, and that's it. Nice. Let's go get the other truck ready. All right, so George and I are over at my shop getting the other truck ready. Now, you actually haven't seen this truck. This truck is nicknamed Over Easy. And the reason this truck is nicknamed Over Easy is because it's been rolled twice. So the first time, it got off the side of the road a little too far and tipped over. And this last time, it was dumping a load of limestone, and they had a long dump trailer behind it, and the dump trailer didn't have aluminum draw arms on it. It had steel ones, and usually with aluminum ones, the trailer tips over and it leaves the truck sitting upright. Well, with the steel ones, it took the truck over with it. So, oops. So, with that being said, a friend of ours actually owned it, and my buddy John, who works for him, drives a beautiful Kenworth for him. John's like, hey, he's like, you want another 379 Peterbilt? I said, well, yeah, maybe. I said, let me see if I can sell the T800, the blue one, and maybe we'll just get into another Peterbilt. Well, the blue one sold really quick. I did not think that it was going to sell literally overnight, but our friend Josh's uncle bought it, so he's got it now, so we needed another truck. So we went and got this Peterbilt, and it is a nice truck. It was just rolled, though. So we've been working the last few weeks here. Once in a while when we got some time, we've been working on it and fixing it up. And really it wasn't too bad, just some cosmetic damage, front fender, air cleaner, smashed the muffler a little bit. When it did go over, the engine rocked inside and broke the elbow off the turbo, so we had to get one of them. We just got a used one through on it. And also it ripped the top radiator hose where it goes from the steel pipe to the head. It tore that, so we had to replace that. But right now, George and I are putting the air horns back on the roof because for some reason, when it flopped over, it threw the passenger side one off. And I think the reason why was they had the rubber swell nuts that have the brass insert. And when you put the bolt in, it tightens that rubber into the roof. It swells it and squeezes the roof. Well, them must have just been a little bit weak, and it threw the air horn right off. So George and I are putting the threaded inserts in there like a rivet, and we had to drill to the next size bigger to put a 5/16 bolt in it instead of a 1/4 inch bolt through these aluminum brackets. So we're going to go get set up to put the nut inserts in here. George brought me one of the original. See, these have a brass nut in them. When you put the screw in, it pulls that, swells it up in the hole. Now we're going to do these rivet type nuts, these nut certs. These work real well. I got a set off of Amazon, and I've never owned a set of these, and I think I'm going to find a lot of uses for them. So we'll show you how we put them in. All right, so this is the truck. It is a 1996 379 Pete. It is pretty much a spit image of the 88 Pete as far as body style. I mean, it's the smaller hood, same cab style and all that, but it's not a long hood Pete. But I really like these short hood ones. They get around real nice. This one does have an N14 Cummins in it, and it's got a Super 10 in it for transmission. It is low geared. It tops out at like 63, and that's all she's got. But got plenty of horsepower. It's pretty up on horsepower. I really like it. But a little history on this truck. My mom's great uncle actually bought it brand new. So it's kind of got a little history with the family. I thought that was pretty cool. So he bought it brand new in 96. A driver drove it for 2 years, hauled anhydrous with it, and retired. And then the guy that was driving it at the last place, he drove it and he put all the rest of the miles on it, and he drove it up till the time that we bought it. So it's really only been drove by maybe 3 drivers in its life. So pretty cool. So at least they left us plenty of extra airline to put that back on with. We're going to set our nutsert down in the roof, and we're going to squeeze it, and then we can just tighten it up a little bit, squeeze it, tighten it up. It's kind of nice because you don't have to pull it all at once if you keep doing it like that. So there we go. Now this roof is a little wonky from being stretched or whatever, but we'll be able to get our bolts in there and draw that up tight to the aluminum block that sits here, and we'll hook our air line back up, and we'll have an air horn on this side again. Maybe someday we'll tear that side apart and put these in. If they're not, I'm sure they've probably got the rubbers in those also, but I really like these. These are in there good and sturdy now. All right, let's move to the front bracket. I'm going to stand on the hood for that one, or open it and stand on the valve cover. All right, let's get another one of these put in. So when I said this truck only had like 3 drivers, I meant that it only had 3 drivers that drove it consistently. It's been driven by other guys over the years. John's drove it some, buddy Matt's drove it some. All right, we got our nutserts in. That works really nice. This is going to be a handy tool to have for other things. I really like these. You can put them in wood, you can put them in plastic, you can put them in all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get a little silicone around these. There's a little hole there from something existing. Get some silicone around them. Get down on there. What do I do with my bolts, George?
That's 2 right there.
Oh, there's 2. Should probably put lock washers on them, don't you think?
Sure.
I better go get some. George has never claimed to be a body man. I can fix stuff, but I don't think I'm a actually full-blown body shop material guy. I would not want to bring my classic car to me. Well, we're getting the back mount put back on. Got plenty of silicone under it so it squishes out and seals them holes up. Might not be the prettiest, but
It's the water out of
yeah, keep the water out of the cab. You only ever see the roofs of the trucks in drone shots anyways. Yeah, them nutserts worked real well. Should have bought one of these kits a long time ago. Now all we gotta do is hook our air line back up and set our air horn back on and put the bolts back in it. up, George. Yes. It won't, we gotta take that bracket off and get it in a small spot. Oh my God. Oh, there we go. We've got plenty of silicone in there, that's for sure. There we go. I just gotta put those 2 bolts back in the back and we've got it. I can't reach them from. Well, we had to make one slight adjustment. We had to eliminate one lock washer because the bolt head was too far up and it was hitting the back of the horn base. But it'll be all right with the amount of silicone we got on everything. That bolt's not backing out anyways. So George is gonna get those tightened up. We're gonna clean up tools and we're gonna back it out and go hook it to the hopper bottom sitting out back here. And then we can go pick some corn the rest of the day. So we did a little test run on these nut certs before we even put one in. And this is what they actually do. They actually squeeze down like a rivet and they pinch whatever material between here and the top. And that's how they stay in there. And they've got kind of a knurled finish to them. So they really bite on whatever they're pinched in. So, pretty cool how they work. Well, all right, that went real good. So I'm going to go pick some corn now. Well, let's go start shelling some corn this morning. We're going to go over here along the woods and we're going to pick 16 rows off so we can get the pivot swung out of the way. It's setting 90 degrees right now to where it needs to set. So Dad's going to go get it running, get it coming this way. We'll pick off 16 rows or so. And we'll go grab the 4430 and the stalk chopper. We'll chop the stalks and then we won't have to move it when I chop the rest of the stalks. I'm working on buying a 5-shank straight bar ripper. I like our disc ripper, but I just don't think I'm getting the shatter effect that I want out of that V-style ripper. So I'd like to chop all these stalks, and then I want to rip this whole farm with a straight bar ripper instead of the disc ripper. Oh yeah, I forgot my grain elevator alarm still going off. This sandhill corn really doesn't do too good. We've been really thinking about planting this whole strip through here to alfalfa on the sand. It'll get watered by the pivot, so it'll give the alfalfa a good chance of growing real good. The alfalfa likes the sand. And then it'll keep us from having to plant corn or beans on this junk sand hill. I mean, the corn's not horribly bad, but it's not as good as the rest of the farm. Gotta watch for sticks and rocks, mainly sticks. I'm gonna have to get John Deere tech out here and see if they can figure out what is wrong with that alarm. I messed with it a bunch. I can't figure it out. I think it's a broken wire in a harness somewhere. I had Dad order me all new ear savers for between the row dividers, the rubbers that are missing, those black ones. I want to get them put back on. I keep losing more and more every year, so now it's time to put some new ones on and be done with it. So hopefully we got them from Shoop, so hopefully they'll be here like tomorrow afternoon. Being Shoops is only in Kankakee, Illinois. It's not too far from here. What is it, like an hour and a half drive, if that, to get there? I have been known to just take off and go there and get parts before. Not a bad drive. Pretty cool place to go to. Got a little bit of cough over the weekend. I don't know if we got something from the niece and nephew or what. Claire was a little bit sniffly. I don't know if I caught it from her, and I know Reed wasn't feeling the best. Got to see them this weekend. Them little kids, they're little germ harbors. They go to school and they bring it home from school. And next thing you know, everybody's got a bug. It could have been that, or maybe it was from the oats that I was transferring from wagon to wagon. I used my feed grinder to transfer them, and I kind of ground them up just a little bit, made them pretty dusty. Could have been from that. There's some decent corn right here, other than the shade. Shaded it out. Sample looks pretty clean. Gotta sell a little trash to the elevator. Can't let them have it too easy. Wipe my stripper plates out a little bit. These stalks seem kind of brittle. They break off pretty easy. Got a nice spot to turn around down there. I'll pick 8 rows in, and then I can back in that opening there. Just don't want to drive out in the neighbor's hay field to turn around. Back and go grab the 4430. get at it here. I had a little time this morning, so I hooked up our big bladed disc. It's a John Deere disc with big notch disc blades on it. We use it for land clearing to chew up any roots that are left or sod or anything like that. I hooked it behind the 15-foot stock chopper behind the 4430 and run some hoses back there to raise and lower it. And I'll tell you what, I am just tickled with the results. Put some cylinder stops in so it wouldn't go too deep. It makes such a nice finish behind that stock chopper. It throws a little soil over the trash to hold it down so it's not blowing away. I'm tickled. I'm going to be using that quite a bit. I don't know why I never thought of it before. Well, it wasn't up until last year we actually had a flail chopper. We always used the 15-foot batwing. The problem with our batwing is it windrows the stalks so bad. You know, you'll run over it with a 30-foot disc and you'll see strips of stalks from that batwing windrowing them. So this flail chopper does a real nice job. It's an old MC chopper. I mean, it's seen better days. I didn't give a whole lot for it when I bought it. It's got a little bit of vibration to it that we've been trying to get worked out of it. Thought it was a few knives missing, changed those. It still vibrates some, but it works. Nothing fancy. But yeah, it does a real nice job having the disc behind it. You know, there's so many guys that push no-till. There's so many guys that push tillage. I think it's just personal preference is what it comes down to. Like, I like tillage. There are some spots that no-till works real well, like the higher sand, you know, you just don't till it so it don't blow. But for the most part, I like tillage. They say when you till, you destroy that layer of residue that turns into humus and becomes, you know, your seed bed. I don't agree with that because you're incorporating all that into the soil. You're putting it in, so it's not just laying and then just oxidizing and just going away in the atmosphere. You're turning that in. You're giving those microbes oxygen. You're giving them something to eat. And microbes are what makes a healthy soil. So work that stuff in, get it in there, do your ripping, get the compaction broke up. You know, get a soil probe and start checking compaction. You know, you don't want it over 300 psi when you push it in. That way, when we do get those high pressure weather fronts, it forces that oxygen down into that shattered ground and feeds those microbes. It makes them have a party, makes them healthy. Makes things break down in the soil the way it's supposed to. It helps them grow food, basically is what it does. So that's why I'm a firm believer in tillage work. I don't feel like you're taking anything away. I feel like you're incorporating it into the soil. Now, taking stuff away is like round bale and corn stalks, which I know some guys have to. They need it for bedding, that and bean stubble, and that's totally fine. But that's the only way I look at that you actually take from your soil. But if you're working that stuff in, it's still there. It's just blended in. And if you ask me, that's better than laying on top, because now it's able to be against moisture all the time, and it'll break down. It'll rot, turn into your humus. Get all that going, get your carbon cycle going, and it's great. It's what you need. Alright, I'm going to go dump and go start on the other side. Well, I took the first load in with the new truck. Everything went great going. It was coming back when all the problems came about. Somebody, when it rolled, well, I'm sure they did, they shut the fuel tanks off. Well, when they shut the fuel tanks off, because one was higher than the other and they didn't want it to keep gravity flowing down and overfilling the one that was on the low side. And they set it up right and they never turned them back on. Well, what had happened was it pumped all the fuel out of the driver's side tank, and that was all the fuel it could get. So on the way home, I run out of fuel basically. So I discovered that the valves were shut, or the passenger side fuel tank valve was shut. So I opened it up, and the problem was the return was even open on that side, so it kept topping that fuel tank off, taken out of the driver's side fuel tank for return, because the return, it goes back to each tank evenly. Well, it kept filling that passenger side tank and it wasn't coming back across because the crossover valve was off. So it just kept filling and filling, and it basically drained the driver's side completely, and the truck ran out of fuel. So I got some fuel transferred by shutting the return off on the passenger side and opening up the passenger side fuel tank. I got to transfer some across once I got it running again. And right now I've got it sitting idling, and it's still transferring fuel over. I'm trying to equal out the tanks for this next load. I know it sounds a little confusing, but for those of you that don't know how the diesel engine works, they actually return fuel to the tank. They have return fuel that is basically, I guess, bypassed by the injectors. It's whatever they don't meter out, it just returns back to the tank. Well, in this case, it was all returning back to the passenger tank instead of equally being distributed between the two. And without the valve on for the suction side on the passenger tank, it was taken out of the driver's side and just kept emptying and emptying and emptying until it sucked it dry and the truck quit. That's exactly why I took the back way to Stark County Co-op. I went through Brims and on around. I'm like, we have any mechanical issues, I'm on country roads. So that was a fun adventure. But other than that, truck ran good, everything's great. I mean, we checked it over really good in my shop. I crawled all over under it with a creeper and a flashlight. Made sure that there was nothing obvious wrong. Everything checked out. I had to put the PTO shaft back together under it. Originally, years ago, this truck had a PTO right out the back, and it ran the pump on the anhydrous tanker that it used to pull. And the pump would just stay with the tanker. Well, when you get to where you're going and need to pump your load off, you would hook up a short PTO shaft just like off of a rotary mower on a tractor. The shaft stuck out between the rear taillights. You hooked up the shaft between the pump and there. You got in, you turned your PTO on, you pumped your load off. Before you left, you took the shaft off because of the way the geometry is. It would never steer like it would with like a tractor, a normal farm tractor. So they also done that with dump trailers at one time. They'd leave the hydraulic pump and the reservoir all on the dump trailer. That was kind of old school back in the day. Well, they did put a normal wet kit pump on this truck, but they mounted the pump remotely in the back instead of right off the PTO box on the bottom of the transmission. So there's still a shaft. When the truck flexed when it went over, it pulled that shaft apart. So I'd loosen everything up, move it apart, slide the shaft back together because it was just tarp strapped under there. Eventually, I'm going to get a different PTO box for it, and I'm going to bolt that hydraulic pump right to it like the other trucks, so all that'll hang right on the bottom of the transmission. And then we don't have to mess around with any PTO shaft or anything like that. it worked great for, you know, when it pulled the anhydrous tanker, because that's kind of a specialized pump, and you don't really want to be carrying that around on the truck all the time. So that was kind of the idea behind it. And they thought with like dump trailers, if they put the reservoir on the trailer, all the oil, everything stayed with the trailer. And also, it made it so each truck didn't have to have a hydraulic pump. As long as they had a PTO on them, they could run that trailer. So it was less stuff to hang on the truck, less weight for loading and all that stuff, you know. You could haul more because you weren't carrying around 50-something gallon of hydraulic oil. I'm sure there was pros and cons to it. I just always known it as the old school way. Now the nice thing is, you know, if you have a dump trailer hooked up, you just use the controls in the cab, dump the trailer, shut the PTO off, and drive away. You don't have to get out and unhook a shaft and mess around. You don't have to crawl around under the truck. I'll have to ask Madison's grandpa how his trucks were set up. He owned Man Trucking at one time, and they hauled a lot of anhydrous, had Peterbilts, had Freightliners, had Kenworths, and hauled a lot of anhydrous and a lot of liquid fertilizer. In fact, he said he hauled some of the first loads into Brim's Co-op when they first opened. He's one of them old guys that you can just sit there and listen to him for hours. He's got all kinds of good trucking stories. Well, Grandpa Louie, quite the character. I asked him one time, I said, Grandpa Louie, what kind of trucks did you have? He said, oh, I had red ones, I had blue ones, I had yellow ones, I had orange ones. I said, well, I mean, what brands were they? Oh, I never kept track. So I know I had some Kenworths. I had some of them Volvos. I had a few Freightliners. He said, I just remember them all by the color. He told me one time he hauled some cattle down to a butcher in Chicago. And he said he had to pull in on the city street. You had to walk to this door. A guy would slide open a little thing where you just see his eyes, and he'd ask you what you wanted. He'd tell him you had a load of cows. He'd tell you to pull around to the side. They'd open two big doors on the side of this building downtown, and you'd back the whole semi in, and they'd unload the load of cows. He said that was an interesting haul. Then he told me that they used to use dump trailers. They would put steel, they'd take a load of steel, put it in the bottom of the trailer, and then they'd put grain on top of it. They'd make sure the steel was good and fastened in, and they'd take the load of grain and dump it, and then they would deliver the load of steel. Like, now that's interesting. He had dump trailers with D-rings welded in the bottoms, and they'd haul coils of steel in the dump trailers also. They'd take a load of grain up to the port, and they'd bring a coil or so back to someplace. That was back in the day when stuff was fun. I think my grandpa Jack used to work at the Ford Chicago Heights stamping plant, and he used to be in shipping and receiving. And they would get rail cars full of coils, and they would get semis full of steel coils. telling me stories about loading them or unloading them and all the interesting stuff he's seen. You know, it's nothing to have an old GMC cracker box semi-tractor come in with a coil of steel on it with a little Detroit in it for power. Nowadays, guys gripe if they don't have at least 400 horse cats and, you know, 425 cats. Back then, they were hauling steel with 238 horse Detroits. I guess getting it rolling, or not getting, or getting it stopped was more important than getting it rolling. Take you 6 miles to get to 50 miles an hour. Something like that. I believe they said the N14 in this P is set at 500 horse. And it'll scoop. I was impressed with it. Let's get up and go. Looks like Dad's got me loaded. So I'm gonna go haul me another load. Hopefully the injector pump comes back in the next couple days for the 1988 Peterbilt that we overhauled this winter. We found out that it had a junk plunger, completely junk plunger in the pump on number 3 cylinder, and number 4 wasn't too far behind it. So that's why it's never quite ran right. So we took the pump up to Crown Point, and they're rebuilding it, and hopefully we'll get it back here soon, get it back on that truck. I'm anxious to drive it and see the difference. I did use it all summer for spraying, and it just never ran quite right. Just never was really happy with it. And now I know why. So if it had one cylinder that was completely dead and one that, let's say, is running about 50%, that's a big horsepower loss. So we told them when they rebuild the pump to set it at 475 horse. That's what we want that one set at. I was trying for 500 out of it, but I was advised just to stay around 475. 465, somewhere in there. And really, that's plenty. Alright, I'm gonna head back to the elevator. Well, second trip to the elevator in Over Easy went just fine. No problems at all, or fuel issues fixed. So we're good to go now. So we have moved to another farm. This is the farm that I call my gravel pit farm because, well, for those of you who have not followed my channel for a while, I picked this farm up a while back, probably 4 years ago, and there's actually, or used to be, an old gravel pit on this farm in the woods. And there is an old drag line in the bottom of that gravel pit. It fell in one night. They had dug all day, and the bench sloughed off, and the crane went off in the pond. So it's been in there since my dad was a kid. In fact, the guy that owns it now, he talked to me last spring. He wanted me to do some brush work around it, possibly. I need to get with him and see when he wants to do that. Kind of cool to debrush all the way around and see if maybe we can see the old drag line in there sometime. I had to talk him into letting me get it out. It's kind of interesting just to see what shape it's in. It's probably like the Titanic. You go to mess with it and it just crumbled. Titanic's been under the water a lot longer than that, though. Rumor has it the The toilets are still full on Titanic, and the swimming pools, and the bathtubs, and the sinks. Every cereal bowl on board, wine glass, drinking cup, they're all still full. Never get empty. This is looking to be some good corn. The reason I'm picking this now is I want to plant some wheat on this farm. So all the high ground I'm going to plant to wheat. And then all this lower, better ground I'm going to, I don't know, I'll probably put some soybeans on it this year. We'll see. Nice thing with soybeans is the input costs aren't so high to put them in. But I like to plant corn. Well, I like to have corn on my ground. This looks real nice right here. Just always the high ground just destroys the field average. Now this is a Dairyland number of corn. I can't remember what number it was. From my buddy Zach Green. He sells Dairyland, so if you need Dairyland seed, hit up Zach. pickle plant along the road right there. There's a washout here somewhere. Be careful. I think it's right there. Well, move over a few rows. gonna do. Well, this farm's done. Well, it's time to move on to the next one. We probably got a hopper bottom and a half of another full. George is dumping right now. I'll finish emptying out the grain cart. So let's figure that up and see what this did per acre. Dad said that there was a couple spots in the low ground that was doing 200, so that's pretty good. Just the high sand takes away from it. Well, we got back from the elevator last night and it was dark. We needed to move fields, so Dad said, you know what, we'll just wait till tomorrow to move to the next field, get started, get it broke in, because he really didn't want to break it in the dark. So him and George are moving the combines and grain cart this morning, and I decided to grab the 4430 and the stalk chopper and disc. And I wanted to get this ground worked here on the gravel pit farm so I can get it prepared for my wheat. So I want to get that planted here in the next week or so. Works really nice pulling the disc behind here. So I'm not going to plant the whole farm to wheat, just the higher ground. So the yield was, the total field yield on this farm was 99.4 bushels the acre. So that high sand takes away from it tremendously on the field average. Over there this way, I'm going to plant all this to wheat, and then everything from the trees to the road is going to stay corn and soybeans. That's all pretty much the real good producing ground for corn and beans anyways. The yield monitor stayed on about 190 to 200 in that spot. We'll keep that for corn and beans. But we'll do small greens down here. That disc is just wide enough. Could stand to be maybe a, well, I don't know, foot wider. But hey, it works just fine for what I want to do. Alright, while things dry off, we'll get this chopped off, disced up, and then as soon as we can pick, we're going to start picking corn again. Well, that looks really nice. Now all I gotta do is run the soil finisher over it before I plant. I'll be good to go. I like it. Alright, time to go pick some corn. Well, we're getting into just about a little bit of everything in this video. We fixed trucks, we prepared some ground, we picked some corn. Gonna have to get this one edited up and get it on YouTube. So it's gonna cover what, first 3 days of harvest so far. We're on our on my dad's 40-acre farm right now. Got spots out here. He says yield monitor's hitting 230. But then there's spots out here that's just not worth the crap. We were always going to put water on this farm and just never did. looking for a used pivot for it. We need a 3-tower since it's a 40. Nice thing is we can put the pivot right in the middle of it because the building is on the corner, so we don't have to worry about the pivot hitting the building or there used to be a house trailer here at one time when Dad first bought it. The renters moved out, then we got rid of that. That was always such a pain in the butt. It had great people renting it, but just having a rental in general, it's constantly needing something. I know there are people out there that make good money renting places, but when you got a bunch of other stuff going on, you throw a few rental houses in the mix. Just, it's a lot going on all the time. I think really in order to be successful at having rentals, a guy almost needs to be a handyman or have a handyman on call all the time. You know, you almost need to be a good plumber, a good HVAC guy. Kind of need to be a jack of all trades when it comes to having rentals, so that when there's a problem you can just jump on it, or have good guys that you can call and just have them come do it. Couple times the renters called at like 4 o'clock in the morning. They woke up, they didn't have any water, so have to go over here, figure out why the water wasn't running. Most of the time it was just the pressure switch on the pump went bad. Well, one time we had gotten a lot of rain and the pump for the house was out in a pump pit made out of railroad ties. And we got in a lot of rain, and it had washed sand and water into the pump pit, and the stay right pump went underwater, and that was that time. Well, Dad and I went over there, tore it all out, redone the pump pit, put a new pump in, and that solved that problem for a long time. Well, then they decided that they were going to move on. The boyfriend had gotten a new job somewhere, and it was a ways away, so they decided they were going to move. And then we said, well, that's it with having a rental house. So we got rid of it. I was going to build a house on the corner, but then I got the property that I'm on now, which where I'm at now is where I pretty much grew up, so I'm kind of like back home now, and I like it, which is just around the corner from this place, but still I'd much rather be where I am now. We like our place. I got all the materials ordered for the front porch of the house, so I'm excited about that. For those of you that haven't followed my channel, this time last year we put up a new modular home. We bought a Rochester home, and we're slowly making it the way we want it. We got the 2-car garage all finished up. Other than the interior of it, it's all dried in though. Doors are on, so it's sealed up from weather. I'm gonna work on that this winter, doing the inside of it. But the one other major construction project we wanted to do was a front porch on the house. We wanted to gable end out, you know, so it'd give the house some architecture to it. So I got all that stuff ordered. Hopefully it'll be here in the next week or so. See if our contractor can get it done before snow flies. He says he can. So I'm excited about that. And then next spring, I want to get the landscaping done around the house. I was going to try to do that this fall yet. But we've been so busy with other stuff that just didn't get it done, which is no big deal. That way it allows the dirt to settle a little more around the house. So that way when I do landscaping, I don't have to worry about my blocks tipping and all that, which it is pretty much settled. It's probably not going to go any farther than it is now. Yeah, it's kind of cutting beans went fast this year because I wasn't messing around with doing the basement and stuff. So it was Dad and I both cutting beans instead of just him. So we got done pretty quick. Like last year, I don't remember having a week and a half gap in between beans and corn, and we went right from beans to corn. It's kind of nice having that little gap in between this year just to catch up on some mechanical work. So it'll be nice to get this corn done and out of the way and get moved on to other things. Got some excavating work lined up already for the winter. So I'm excited about that. Got some more culverts to replace. I know that viewers like to watch those videos of the culvert replacements. Got some attachments I want to build for my Mini. And I gotta get on the baby nursery. Actually, Madison and Mom has already started on it, so that's a good thing. George and I are unloading on the go right now. Corn's a little wet yet, but gotta get it picked. That's all I got. Well, we've had a pretty good day. We got the 40 done. We're gonna move down to the next farm that's about 15 acres. We're gonna try to get that broke in and maybe picked off yet tonight. See how much room we have. This trailer is pretty much going to be full with everything left over on the 40. Dad and I took 2 in and came back, and we took the other semi to the other farm. We are down to 2 hopper bottoms now. We did end up selling one. My uncle was needing one, and since we don't farm down Madairyville and Francisville anymore, we thought, we don't need 3 trailers anymore. So I might eventually buy another big grain cart. bigger than what we have. We only got a 750 now. I thought, well, buy an 1100 or so, and then that'll give us a pretty good size hole to fill at night. So let's move on to the next farm and see what we can get done. All right, let's get started. Dad actually made it here before I did a little bit. It's just a little ahead of me. Stripper plates up a little bit, kind of cutting the stalks off some. Seems like stalks are a little brittle this year. Somebody put a shipping container right in the corner right here. Makes it hard to open up the field. Bumping into him. Kind of a small field to be pretty close to each other in. Bad of ground, there's just not a whole lot of it here. And the one problem is this back corner back here, it drowns out because the ditch is in need of desperate repair. But there's so many properties that it goes through, and it's not a county assessed drain, so it's kind of a private deal. We'd have to try to get landowners to let us go through and clean it, and they're not going to want to do that because a lot of them don't really care that it doesn't drain well, and there's not a lot of ground here, so it's not like we're trying to drain a couple hundred acres. So how much money do you get wrapped up into it, you know? I suppose we could try to tile into what little bit of a ditch there is. But when it fills up, it's just going to fill up, and then the tile's not going to have any good outlet. Here, this isn't a very good spot. It's a sandier spot, but get off these ends, it's not too bad. trim a few trees. Actually, this field is half and half. One belongs to one landowner and the other half belongs to the other. The one landowner, she kind of wants to leave it, you know, kind of bushy for hunting. So that's why I really haven't trimmed any trees on it. Turn George out here loose with the 200 and the brush mower. Now see, this is the corner that usually drowns out. Looks like the corn stood wet for a little bit. No ears on it. I'm going to stay over 2 rows so I don't have to mess around with tree limbs. This is that one variety that turns into party confetti. A little bit of wind damage right there maybe, or deer fighting. Probably wind damage. Darn tree limb. I want to break my whip lights off. Even though the whips are pretty tough. Well, so far so good here. Corn just, or the leaves are just not falling off the corn yet. I like varieties that the leaves kind of fall off. This is the kind that turns into the party confetti and piles up on the feeder house and everything else. I never did get my little whipperdoodle built that I wanted to build to keep the feeder house cleaned off. I was just gonna build a hydraulic, something with a hydraulic motor with just a rubber whip that just run kind of slow just to keep that stuff flipped off. Just never did it. Should do that. Probably should stop and see what's wrong with Dad's corn head. Something happened. He's working on the outside row. I know I've talked about it before. Why don't we just have one newer big combine? Well, my thoughts are you run 2 older ones, and if one's down, the other one's still moving. in my case, I got 5 of them that could stay moving at any given time. Well, I'd have to fix 3 of them, get them back up and running. But you know what I mean. I don't have all my eggs in one basket with one machine. So if something happens to one and it's down for half a day, one's still running. If I went out and spent $350,000 on one, and let's say it's down for 2 or 3 days, well, it's kind of a big asset that's not moving. At that point, it's just a paperweight. Run the older stuff, have multiples of it, keep it going. Now I understand one size doesn't fit all, but I've always felt that works real good for us, having 2 machines, 2 older ones versus having 1 newer one. I'll make one more round and I'll go help him. Probably gathering chain broke or something. I didn't realize it, but I finished off the season last year with 1 gathering chain off on this corn head. It was still tight, it was still running, it was slipping around the top of its idler. It was like slipping around the top ring of the bearing. I don't know how it ran, but it did. And it must have run that way for at least probably an acre or so. I don't know how it didn't just pop off. I discovered it when I put the head on. And apparently when Scooter blew the head off, he didn't say anything about it because he was looking for something to do. And I said, well, you can blow the heads off, the combines off. We got done with harvest last year. Apparently he just didn't say anything about it. So we'll blame that one on Scooter. I discovered it when I was getting the head ready. You have to go check out Scooter's World on YouTube. He got him a whole collection of the little Chinese mini heavy equipment. He's got him a mini excavator. He's got him a little track skid loader. He's got the little dump truck on tracks. A little payloader. He's got a cool little collection going on. And of course, see him for any of your small engine needs. He does tutorial videos on carburetors and stuff like that for Hondas, Briggs & Strattons, any small engine he works on. He's got a truck project going on too over there too. I think it's 65 Ford he's working on. Used to be my buddy Michael's uncle's sprayer truck, I think it was. Bought it on an auction or something. Oh, we're just about full. Sometimes get talking to the camera and forget that my hopper's filling up. We're going to take Dad's combine to my place after we're done here. We're going to do some work on the rolls in the head. The hex drives for the rolls. He's got 2 of them that are pretty badly worn, so the rolls are not turning against each other the way they should. It's causing row units to plug up, so we're going to fix that. Pretty simple fix, just takes a little time. Alright, I'm going to go check on him and see what he's got going on. Well, I got Dad going again. He had a gathering chain run off. And he had 2 rocks in his rock trap we had to get out. The gathering chain we discovered was put on backwards by some asshat back at the shop. Yeah, yours truly put that gathering chain on, and I don't know how I managed to put it on backwards. But it's run all this time. I don't know what run it off, but we just discovered it was backwards. So my bad. Definitely wasn't my good. So we'll straighten that out tomorrow, because that's the end of the head that you have to take the whole fender off to get it off to turn it around. So we'll go ahead and we'll fix that while we got it at the shop. Cannot believe I put that on backwards. I don't know what I was thinking. I put hundreds of gathering chains on, and I put that one on backwards. Oh well, happens. Must have been one of them days where I had a lot on my mind. Gotta get over it a little bit. This trailer don't have the wind straps down the center, so it's kind of hard to judge when you're centered on it. There we go. Seems to be working good though. The only thing is I want to replace the auger that comes up out of the actual grain tank. That one's got some wear on it. And the one in Josh's combine, I believe, is new. So I might as well just go back this winter and grab that. The elbow is different though, but the augers are all the same. Let's get finished up tonight. Well, we're on our last 8 rows for tonight. Didn't realize I just looked over and I realized Dad was worked that far over towards me. Wasn't paying attention. So that's where we're going to end this episode for tonight. So thank you for watching. Greatly appreciate it. We'll see you all in the next one. Make sure that you stay around and watch some more harvest videos, and make sure you go check out the mega pump videos. That video series is pretty cool. It was a pump structure that we put in, it's been about a month or so ago now. So go check those videos out. I'll throw some links in the comments below or in the description below, so you can go watch them. Pretty good videos. A lot of people are really liking them. So thanks for watching. We'll see you all in the next one. Have a good evening or a good morning. It all depends where you're at.